America, welcome to the Business Pulse. I'm your host, Chuck Barham. It's brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network. I'm joined by Dean Owen. Dean, welcome back to the program of OMCPA. How are we today, bud?
Very good. Appreciate you having me.
Getting ready to rock into Independence Day. It's a great time to be an American.
Yep.
And that's what I want to talk to you about. As a small business owner, medium-sized business owner, just a business owner in America, what does it mean to Dean Owen this close to Independence Day, and what it's like to be a small business owner in the best, gosh darn it, land on the face of the earth?
Yeah. It's an absolute honor and a privilege. It truly is, to be able to go out and literally forge your own way and make the decisions that you need to make to serve the public that you want to serve. And it's being a very public servant, and being humble, but yet being strong in what we do. And it's a labor of love, and I know in my business, our clients are so incredibly close and they count on us so much. And to be able to carry that responsibility and do it well there's a sense of gratitude that when I go home at night, that I've been trusted that much, that I've been believed in. It's just really great stuff.
And look who's joined us. It's Rod Martin. Rod Martin, of the CEO of Martin Capital and the Martin Report. Rod, welcome in, bud.
Good to be here.
We were just asking Dean, this close to Independence Day, what it means to Americans and to small business owners in America to be an American and to have the freedom to create and be an entrepreneur. What's that mean to Rod Martin?
Well, it's transformative. There's nothing like it in the whole history of the world. And I've got an article coming out for the 4th of July about the Christian foundation of the idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as unalienable rights. You know, first and foremost, the Declaration posits that unalienable rights, and those three are among them, not the totality of them, come from God and not from government. And government proceeds forth from that to actually serve that, to advance that, to ensure that. So first and foremost, you have a fundamentally Christian way of looking at government in the United States. But then that pursuit of happiness thing sometimes gets misunderstood. We equate it with Lockean property, life, liberty, and property. But that's not what they did. That's not what George Mason did in the Virginia Declaration. It's not what Thomas Jefferson did in the Declaration of Independence. The idea is that everyone has different gifts, just exactly like Paul's analogy of the body of Christ. Some people are heads, some people are hearts, some people are hands, some people are feet, and they all work together and they all have equal dignity within the body. And what Jefferson is saying there, even though he wasn't a Christian, most of the people in the room were. They were asserting your right, your unalienable right to pursue your gifting as your conscience directs, not as a government or a slave owner tells you. And that changed the world. That is absolutely the basis of our technological and economic advance in the United States. We are the freest and most successful society in human history. And that's why.
When we were at the Job Creators Network Summit down in Savannah, there was an author there, and I can't recall his name, but he has a book, and he was talking about and showing very strong evidence how capitalism came from Christ and socialism came from Satan. It's blatant, and being able to celebrate that, to be able to just know that these are all gifts that God's given us. He's allowed us to do these things and given us the talents, and then put it in our own hands and give us the free will to go and do and create and build and live. And I've got a fairly significant number of employees. I see lots of new cars in my parking lot, and my employees become my brothers and sisters and sons and daughters. And just to be able to be part of enriching their lives, knowing that they go home at night after being treated, they've worked hard, they go home tired, but they've been treated well. They've changed the world. They've done the right stuff. They've helped other people. And, to see them be able to raise their families, to live in nice homes, and to know that, I was helped part of making that happen. And of course they come to work and earn every penny of it. There's no charity here, but to know that, okay, my name's on the front of those paychecks is a very rewarding feeling.
It really is. And I would add, capitalism gets a bad rap because, of course, Satan's team wants you to hate all things that are good. But, the idea that somehow capitalism is about profits before people is the exact opposite of the truth. Capitalism makes it such that no one may make a penny without first solving someone else's problem, and then that person voluntarily accepting it and paying for it. There's literally no way to get ahead other than by putting your neighbor ahead of yourself and thinking through what he needs, what she wants, how to get it to her more efficiently, higher quality. That is the essence of capitalism. That is fundamentally Christian. And just as you said, socialism is the exact opposite. Socialism is the systematic implementation at a societal level, not of the golden rule like capitalism, but of covetousness and every manner of theft. It's just awful. And there's no way that you can take from anybody to redistribute wealth or do any of the things that socialists wish to do without compulsion and without violation of people's fundamental rights.
Right. And you think about how the capitalism is about wealth creation. So let's say I've got a pencil and to me it's worth $1. That's what I paid for it. And Rod wants a pencil and to him it's worth $2. So he gives me the $2 because that pencil's worth more than that to him. Now the pencil was only worth $1 to me. So I've gotten wealth. I've got something. I have more wealth than I did before. Rod has something that's more valuable than those $2. We both win. That is fundamentally Christian. We have both won. But if I try to get $3 for that pencil and it's not worth it to Rod, I don't make a sale. Or if I have a crappy pencil, Rod will not buy it again tomorrow.
Right.
So it gets on my shoulders that I have to produce, I have to perform in order to win. But when I win, Rod wins. When we both win together, or everybody loses together. Capitalism.
And let's say you're a pencil maker. You have a whole bunch of pencils you've made, and you can't eat them. And you can't send your child to school on them. You can send them with them, but you can't pay for school. And I have cash, so I trade some of my cash for some of your pencils, and both parties won. Everybody comes out ahead. That is wealth creation.
Absolutely. And Rod, let's talk about, taking that whole thought to the next level. How many people are behind making that pencil? And then once you have it in your property, what are you using that pencil towards? Putting together your business, designing, drawing, doing something that creates another job, that creates more capitalism. I mean, it's a big circle of trust when you get into the capitalistic markets that America has. People come to America because they want that opportunity and that freedom. And that's what we have to keep it sacred. And I don't think people appreciate it as much as they should.
They do not. And they really should, because we live in a great place. And if you don't believe me, look at all those migrant caravans coming up from Latin America. Millions and millions of people come here even illegally over the last 4 years. I don't see similar caravans going to Venezuela. I don't see boat lifts from Cuba, or rather from Florida, going to Cuba. That doesn't happen. People aren't clamoring to get into China. They're all coming here.
Absolutely. We're up against a break here, gentlemen. On the backside of the break, we're going to talk about what it's like to take your business to the next level and get your insights, with either selling your business or going through private equity. So I want to tease you with that. We'll be right back. You're watching The Business Pulse.
The America we grew up loving is at a crossroads. And what happens in the next 18 months will decide the world our children and grandchildren inherit. That's why I started the Rod Martin Report. We're not here to watch. We're here to understand, to prepare, and to lead. Our premium members get the real story, the deep dives, the special reports, the insights you can actually use, because we're not just playing defense anymore. We're building the future, one informed leader at a time. Right now, you can join us and lock in our early subscriber discount, but not for long. When the window closes, it's closed. If you love this country, if you believe we're still called to something greater, Click the button below. Join us. Let's fight for a future we can be proud of.
Welcome back to the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, the pro-American business network. Join today, freedomchamber.net. Taking your business to the next level. You've got it to a place where you want to grow, but maybe you've got an opportunity to sell it. Do you take it to a private equity firm? I'd love to get your insight. Dean, we'll start with you, bud.
Well, it's an interesting topic because I can walk through selling to a private individual. I can walk through selling to private equity. Those are things I've done. And there's folks that help do that. And of course, every business owner needs to have a succession plan or needs to have how do you move forward. And of course, Rod can speak to taking a company public. That's something that's not my lane, it's his. But, if your business is large enough, typically if it's got about $1 million in free cash flow, then one of the things that I've seen a lot of and helped a lot of business owners with is start talking to private equity groups. And there's coaches in the middle that help groom a business and then help take it to private equity and get 6 or 7 offers. That's typically, if you have enough cash flow, that's going to be the way you maximize value. If you're not able to take the public, if it's not big enough to go public, then going to a private equity firm is going to be the way to maximize value. A lot of people get real scared about that because you've seen some bad private equity that want to bust up a company and do stuff like that. And there's lots of those negative stories out here, but practically every private equity firm I have ever dealt with was truly concerned with adding value, keeping the employees, treating the employees well. I mean, they're buying a business. They want it to continue to run. And what disrupts growth? Disruption. So the idea of selling it to private equity is oftentimes the best way to maintain the business and the employees and make sure everything gets taken care of.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. And yes, taking a company public, if it's the right company in the right market with the right valuation, can make phenomenal sense. It can multiply your valuation. It can give people an exit who want an exit. It can give people a partial exit who don't want to entirely exit. And of course, it gives you a bunch of publicly traded stock you can borrow against, and you don't have to pay taxes on that. So there are a lot of benefits to that. I would just say that with smaller companies where what you're describing, Dean, makes more sense. The biggest single thing I would encourage people to do is to look into some good estate planning. That succession plan really matters, but not just for who's going to take it over. I don't want the IRS to take it over. And at the end of the day, you're going to die. So when you do, 45% of your business has to go to the government, and they're going to force you to sell it to be able to come up with the money, most likely. Now, you can get some good life insurance and maybe take care of that. There are a lot of ways to plan for succession in this regard. But I strongly encourage people to look at a South Dakota dynasty trust or some of the similar options that are available in a handful of other states that have abolished the rule against perpetuities. This is phenomenal. You can literally have permanent ownership of this in your trust, and there are ways that your chosen successors can manage it. It's really tricky. Don't try to do it on your own. Get a good accountant, get a good lawyer, people who actually are familiar with the laws of the state in question. However, this is a great vehicle. And if you can get under the estate tax limit, which currently is pretty generous, you can probably get your entire business, the entire stock of the business into that trust, and it will never face estate tax.
And right now we are in the golden age of estate planning. You can pick which type of trust you use, how much control you have or don't have, how it gets taxed. It can still be taxed at the individual tax rate, not trust tax rates. It's almost too good to be true right now. The exemptions and the way you can do things in these state tax laws, I cannot help but think they're going to change later. I wonder if the politicians aren't letting it stay so loose and so favorable so they can get their affairs in order, and then they go change it so that the next generation can't.
There are a lot of people who have a very serious interest in keeping them from changing it too much. So I feel reasonably confident of it. And of course, there are offshore solutions too, but I wasn't terribly interested in an offshore solution. I don't know that I can just get up and go defend myself in some Caribbean country or the Cook Islands or something. South Dakota made a lot more sense. It's a U.S. jurisdiction. It's subject to federal law, but it's got absolutely the best trust setup in the world. There's really nothing to compare to it. And they've decided to specialize in that and in credit card processing as a primary way for South Dakota to make money. So that's an excellent solution. You don't have to live there. Thank God. I live on the Gulf of America. That's where I want to be. But you do have to have a South Dakota trust company, one of which is actually the South Dakota Trust Company. They're good. There are a lot of others. And they can handle this. That gives you your nexus with the state that allows it to be a valid South Dakota trust.
Well, I can tell you this, South Dakota Trust is going to get some business off of this interview. That's for gosh darn sure. Gentlemen, I want you to do me a favor. Have a great Independence Day. Celebrate down there in the Gulf of America. Celebrate down there in Paducah, Kentucky. I'm unfortunately trapped in the Socialist Republic of Illinois, but we still will light off fireworks illegally and hopefully not get taxed on them. As you know what I'm talking about. But I do want you guys to do one thing as you're watching this. Sign up for the Martin Report, rodmartin.org, the Martin Report, and give Dean Owen a phone call down there at Owen CPA in Paducah, Kentucky. You own a business. He's going to be the guy. You guys have got a wealth of information. The business pulse is starting to take off, and I can't wait to see where it takes us. God bless you guys. God bless America, and enjoy your Independence Day.
My name is Dean Owen. I'm a CPA. I have a master's degree in taxation and a personal financial specialist. Tax laws are always changing. That's why you need a tax strategist, not just a tax preparer. You need someone to help you pay the least amount of tax legally. Because if your business and retirement tax planning is not tax smart, it's probably tax dumb. Let's fix that today. Call me. Let's disinherit the government and not your kids. That's what my team and I do. This is who we are. I'm a combat veteran, unapologetically American, unapologetically pro-God, pro-life, and pro-Second Amendment. If those are the values you seek in a tax and money advisor, call us. Again, let's disinherit the government and not your kids. We're not afraid to share our values, and we share them with you.
America, welcome back into the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network. And one of the businesses you can find in there is Amy Robbins' business. It's Alexo Athletica. One of my, I said it right this time, Amy. It's taken me.
You did. You got
how
it.
many times to say athletic? You know, it's like I always want to put the Athletica before the Alexco, but
I know everyone does. You did a great job.
thank you. Amy, walk us through where you've been lately. I mean, you've developed a line of clothing for women to conceal carry. What else is going on in Amy's world that the chamber members need to be aware of?
Well, here we are. We are 8 years into this business, Chuck. If you would have told me back in 2015, when I was followed and harassed on my run by a van full of men, that we would be disrupting an entire activewear space by making concealed carry activewear, and we would still be in business 8 years later, I don't know if I would have believed you, quite honestly. You know, when we set out to start this company, it was, first off, I didn't have a background in manufacturing. I didn't have a background in design. And I didn't know if anybody else in the world needed a pair of concealed carry leggings the way that I did. I simply knew that there was about 80% of women who had mentioned or voiced that they felt threatened or unsafe while they were out exercising. So I was really crossing my fingers, hoping that we had a market to sell these leggings to. But here we are 8 years later, and we are keeping women safe on a daily basis. So I could not be more thrilled.
What's been the biggest shock, surprise to you once you really started to take off and you're like, holy, wow, people are buying this stuff? I mean, the feedback you get and you're thinking, wow, people are really buying and liking it now.
The biggest shock, honestly, was just the fact that people purchased it, you know, and it wasn't just our friends and family members. I can remember there was a time my husband and I would look at each other And it was probably about 6 months into the business taking off. We would get a shipment in of our inventory, and it would be sold out in a couple of days. And we would look at each other and we would keep saying, I think we have a business. I think we actually have a legitimate business. And while the frenzy definitely, it kind of evened out a little bit. You know, we now have been able to plan a lot better for long-term inventory increases. So we don't sell out as quickly as we were in the very beginning stages when we were, you know, selling inventory and then putting that money right back into the company. But we know that the market is there. More people are getting there. Can still carry licenses. I mean, it's up 150% since we even started this business. But more so than that, we're starting to see, Chuck, a lot of women are taking their safety into their own hands in different ways. It's not just by carrying a firearm. In fact, what we're seeing now, the big shift is just towards women carrying some form of self-defense tool on their body. We actually have a big partnership that we just formed with a company called Byrna, and it is a pepper ball launcher.
I've got one and shot them. They're awesome.
You do? Okay. And how much fun are they to shoot?
Oh yeah.
Like I've taken my kids out, and it sounds basically like an air gun, you know, like a nail gun that construction workers use. But I take my kids out. We play with not the pepper balls, but we play with, like the magnetic balls. And we're so excited about that because what we found, you know, there were a lot of women that went out and purchased firearms during COVID. We saw a lot of riots, a lot of unrest around the country, and people just wanted to feel safe. So they were exercising their Second Amendment. But now what we're seeing is a lot of times those firearms just sit at home and they just turn into paperweights. And our whole entire goal is to actually have people carry some form of self-defense tool on their body that helps them go throughout the day confidently. And so I think this partnership with Byrna is really going to be awesome to fuse that world of function with fashion. So we're excited.
This dovetails into my question this close to Independence Day.
Great.
What's it like being a small business owner in America today?
Oh my gosh. It's honestly the greatest thing in the entire world. We are so lucky to be in a country where right now at this very moment, anytime you have a dream, and it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how young you are, you have the ability, if you're going to go out, you're going to work hard for that dream, you have the ability to build something amazing in this country. And I hope that it continues to stay that way. You know, we see around the world, there's other people that aren't that fortunate, and they don't get the opportunity to go and live out their dreams. It's why so many people want to come to America. So, you know, being a small business owner here in America during this 4th of July, obviously, this is one of my favorite holidays of the entire year, where we just get to celebrate our freedom, our independence. It plays very well into exactly what we do with our company. We are giving women back freedom and independence to be able to live their life the way that they want to. And so, yeah, it's just a really incredible thing to be able to be in this country and be a small business owner.
Amen, sister. Where can people find you? Where can they spend their hard-earned money with you?
Well, go to alexoathletica.com. That is Alex with an O, athletica.com. And we've got some great sales going on right now and some really wonderful products. So go and check all that out and reach out to our customer service team if you have any questions on fit, fabric, functionality, or anything like that, because we're always so extremely happy to help you guys with all your needs.
Amy, always a pleasure. Enjoy your 4th, and blessings to you and your family.
Thanks, Chuck. You too. You guys have a good one.